For small and medium-sized businesses, every minute and every dollar counts. That's why deploying AI can be so impactful when it comes to creating efficiencies, and Salesforce's AI offerings go even beyond Agentforce. So for a 101 guide to AI for SMBs, I'm Kerry Chow, joined by Nicole Watson, Product Marketing Director at Salesforce. Nicole, you're always talking to SMB customers, and you used to work in a small business, so I'd love to know, like, in your experience, what are some of the biggest challenges that SMBs are facing?
Yeah, so what's interesting is a lot of what I experienced is actually very true today. So small businesses, they're competing with larger enterprise companies, but they're doing so with limited resources. So that means they have smaller teams, they have smaller budgets, they're having to do more with less. And another example is the way that they're using technology. On average, SMBs are using 7 different business applications, which is a lot, right? And what that looks like is you'll have marketing using one system, sales using one system, service using a completely different system. You get the picture. And not only does that create a lot of different silos, but it's really a clunky system. And the worst part is in most of those cases, the systems that they're using are one size fits all. And so small businesses are actually having to adapt their business processes to the tools that they're using instead of finding tools that work for their unique needs. And that's okay in the beginning, but as you look to scale and grow, that's gonna become really problematic, and it's actually gonna prevent you from being able to grow the way that you want to.
That's a great point. And 7 different systems. I was joking earlier about this swivel chair mentality.
Yes.
That's exactly what.
No, it's literally a swivel chair.
7 different
Yeah,
places for my information. And as an SMB, as we just mentioned, time matters.
Yes.
Okay, so how can small businesses benefit from not just Agentforce, but all Salesforce-related AI?
Yeah, so Salesforce AI can help with a lot of the challenges that small businesses are experiencing. And the way that we look at AI is in waves. So the very first wave is predictive AI, and that's where it takes all of the historical data and it's able to predict future outcomes. And this is huge for small businesses because what we're hearing is they're struggling with getting all that data, analyzing it, and then acting on that. And this is where predictive AI is super, super helpful. The second wave is generative AI, and as the name sounds, it's helping you to generate content. And this is great for things like if you are a salesperson reaching out to an account, it can actually draft an email for you with personalized recommendations. And then the third wave is where we take a giant step forward, and that's where agentic AI comes in. And this is Agentforce. And what's great about that is unlike traditional chatbots and things, it takes it a step further, and rather than the first waves, which are very reactive, AI agents are proactive, and they can work alongside your human resources to be able to, handle some of those lower value tasks, so that way your teams can focus on the higher value tasks.
That's a perfect guide to the different stages and how quickly we've gone from predictive to generative to agentic. I want to go, let's get into the nitty gritty though. What's an example of a practical pain point you're hearing about, and how can Salesforce AI be a differentiator?
Yeah, so one great example is customer service. So I mentioned earlier they have smaller teams. Those teams can get really overwhelmed with caseloads, especially if you think about like peak seasons, for example. And then we also have customer expectations that are changing all the time. And right now they want personalized, super quick service. This is where Agentforce comes in. Agentforce can help with all of your customers to help them to be able to answer some of those, lower value, quick questions like how do I get my password reset or things like that. And then what's great about that is it allows your customers to get personalized service because it has access to all of their data, and then it frees up time for your staff to be able to focus on those more complex cases.
I love that, and then you just reiterated why it's so important to get your data organized. I mean, in order to implement AI for your SMB, what's the first thing you need to do?
You set me up really well. I love it. Data. Data is what you need to do. So what you need to do is you need to organize and connect all of your data, because good AI needs as much data as possible to really drive those business outcomes. And this is especially true whenever you start to adopt more of those advanced AI features like Agentforce. It needs all of that rich customer data. And this is where Data Cloud comes in. Data Cloud is able to take all of your different data sources, from structured data like spreadsheets and unstructured data like photos, images, images, video files. It takes all of that, and that's the foundation for Agentforce to be able to provide those personalized experiences for both your customers as well as your teams internally.
That unstructured data, I remember, like we're talking about emails and things like that, it can be so beneficial because who's always in a specific spreadsheet, right? Getting all their work done. And to be able to combine all that information can be so valuable. When an SMB is growing quickly, which is the hope for a lot of SMBs, how does AI help them scale?
So there are actually many ways. And what's really cool is in our recent SMB trends report, we found that of the SMB leaders that are currently using AI, 87% are saying that AI is helping them scale. And I'll share an example of that, which is personal. So back in my startup days when I was, a small but mighty marketing team of maybe one, I did a lot of content building, and that takes so much time. Now with AI, you can actually have AI help you do things like build out an email campaign, for example. So before, it might have taken you hours to build out multiple email campaigns. And it can not only help you with that, but it can actually help you do things like recommend targets for you, segments for you, based off of all that historical data, which takes work that used to take hours. Now you can do that in minutes, if not seconds. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little jealous. I wish that I had those tools back in the day, because that would have been a game changer for a small team.
The amount of time I used to spend sitting there crafting the perfect email.
Yes.
Right? And even if the agentic AI isn't giving you that perfect email, it's setting you up that you can customize it to exactly that.
Exactly, because it's not going to be perfect, right? Like, we can't expect it to. But what it's going to do is it's going to get you started, and then you can go in there and make it, whatever you want it to be. But what's great is it gets you started, because sometimes that's actually the hardest part, is where do I get started?
I completely agree. All right, so what's next, though, when it comes to SMBs? Real quickly, how do I best prepare my business to maximize an AI investment?
Yeah, so I have 3 points. The first is your strategy. Think about what you want AI to do and how it can help you with your business outcomes. You also need to think about your culture. You need to make sure that your culture is ready to adopt new technology and new business practices. The second, data. You'll want to make sure that whatever AI you want to implement, you need to have the right data to then fuel that AI. And then the last piece is compliance and security. You want to make sure that AI knows what to do with all of your data. It doesn't accidentally give data to the wrong person. And this is where guardrails come in really handy for Agentforce as well. So those are the 3 things that I would say.
I love it. A perfect 101 guide to starting off AI for SMBs. Nicole Watson, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your insights. To learn more about Salesforce's AI offerings for small business, scan the QR code on your screen to download the Guide to AI for Small Business, or go to sfdc.co/SMBAI.